So now you have a clear idea or some idea about the relationship that exists between trust and value and how they are related. Now, the answers that you have given could all be divergent from each other, and that's all right. It's good to know and understand that you have some connection in your mind, and we are now evolving towards a better comprehension of the TIC industry. Let's move to talk a bit more about value and how value is perceived across various industries. We know there is value to everything that we buy or sell, product or service. There are some which we may not buy or get into directly, so the value is indirect. Like if we buy into a specific technology, it is an active decision of value that whether, let's say, an Android versus an Apple as a technology is something that we value. So the moment we talk about value, there is a clear need to measure this value. And this is exactly where the TIC industry or the testing inspection certification industry, now more known as ATIC or assurance industry, comes in. Measurement falls in for a whole industry in itself, which we will talk about, starting with how to measure, who will measure, is the measurement mandatory, does it need to be reported, how to measure the accuracy of the measurement system, how to measure the accuracy of the measurer. So with all these questions, we introduce a standard. Now, a lot of us know about standards, and we will talk at length about standards later as well. But to put it briefly, a standard is an agreed way of doing something. This is a basic overarching definitions about a standard because we want to do things in a standard way. So we are slowly moving away from describing the industries to now describing the TIC industry. And then there is an important aspect again about measurement, which is impartiality. And impartiality has two sides, one of which is kind of solved, where being a third party makes the assurance entity impartial from the contract, which is based on the outcome of the service. But the assurance business is a business after all, and hence the awareness of the tools and systems to assure this impartiality are increasing. But of course, there is scope of improvement. Moving on, we talk a little more about measurement. A large part of the TIC industry is devoted to measurement. It is a field in itself. Metrology is the science of measurement and its application. Unfortunately, sometimes it gets mixed up with meteorology, which is the science of the atmosphere. Now we take a turn and delve into measurement. We have the tools, standards, procedures. We have regulations that ensure or direct measurement. And there is a whole industry that exists because it relies on measurement and trying to measure itself, which is kind of a recursive problem, saying you're a measuring entity, who will measure you? And to solve this, it has standards of its own. These are the standards of the TIC industry. You are probably familiar with the International Organization for Standardization, or ISO, which is a standard development organization composed of representatives of the National Standards Organization of more than 165 countries and published something called a toolbox. Now, this toolbox has a family of standards which we will talk at length in other modules. And a lot of these standards define the TIC industry or the assurance industry. And it does solve or aim or try to solve the recursive looking problem of measurement. But more on this later. Now that we have introduced some of the key concepts and conundrums of the industry, I would like to name some of the key stakeholders. Who are the entities who make up the business? The entities described later in this course may not all comprise of the TIC industry or the assurance industry, but they are key, and each of them holds a very important role in defining and creating the state of the industry.